Hello everybody and welcome to Rose's Cafe. Today we're going to change just a little bit and switch to South Asian cuisine. That would be primarily India, and we're going to make Murgh, which is Indian chicken curry. Now in India there's a variety of regional cuisines that makes use of locally available spices and seasonings and fruits and vegetables, and these cuisines additionally reflect local religious and cultural practices. Indeed, there's a lot of vegetarian type cuisines in India. The outside world would characterize most Indian foods as spicy, and to me that's a good thing. I like as much heat as I can tolerate. Indian cuisine has affected or influenced most cuisines across the world, especially in Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. Earlier in this blog, we explored a Philippine version of chicken curry, and today we'll try a version that's a little closer to authentic Indian cuisine. That means it's going to be a lot spicier. First, I want to hit on a couple of terms here. Curry, C-U-R-R-Y, is a Western word. It's not spoken in India anywhere. It's probably a corruption of the term curry, which refers to making spicy dishes in general. Secondly, in India there's no such thing as curry powder. Curry powder is a Western invention. It's sort of a standardized flavor of what the Western impression of Indian food tastes like. It may be loosely based on a mixture of spices called garam masala in northern India. That is a Hindi term that means hot mixture. And here we're talking about hot, not so much as peppery hot as the boldness of flavor. So in this recipe for chicken curry, it does call for a little bit of commercial curry powder. If you look at what's in curry powder, you find that it's a blend of coriander, fenugreek, turmeric, cumin, black pepper, bay leaf, celery seeds, nutmeg, cloves, onion, red pepper, and ginger. So we're going to use a little bit of that, but we're also going to try to make our own garam masala for this recipe. Now keep in mind that in the best of circumstances to make garam masala, you would gather the spices locally as fresh. You would toast it and grind it yourself and mix it fresh and then use it. Spices lose a lot of their pungency when they sit on grocery store shelves. But we're going to try to make some garam masala that should be good enough to use in this recipe from locally available dried spices I found in the grocery store. In this case, we're going to use some cumin, coriander, cardamom, ground pepper, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. So without any further ado, let's get started. Our garam masala, we're going to add to a plastic container a tablespoon of cumin and 1½ teaspoons of ground coriander, 1½ teaspoons of cardamom, 1½ teaspoons of ground pepper, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and ½ teaspoon each of ground cloves and nutmeg. Now we're going to close this up with a tight fitting lid. We're going to mix it all up, and we can store this in a cool, dry space with our other spices and use it as we need it. So here we have our own version of garam masala, or possibly curry powder. Now it's time to go to work on the main attraction. I've gotten the ingredients laid out before I start anything, which is always a good plan when you're working with just about any recipe. We have 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast, about 3 teaspoons of salt, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, about 1½ cups of chopped onions, a tablespoon of minced garlic. Okay, that's more, but it'll be fine, trust me on that. 1½ teaspoons of freshly peeled minced ginger root. 1 tablespoon of the commercially available curry powder, a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of turmeric, teaspoon of coriander, teaspoon of cayenne pepper, half a cup of water plus 1 tablespoon to take out of it, a can of crushed tomatoes, 1 cup of plain yogurt, that is plain as in not flavored, 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh cilantro, a teaspoon of our homemade garam masala, and finally 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. Now for this job I've chosen my Dutch oven because it has a lid and it's deep. And I've heated the ½ cup of vegetable oil. I've rubbed 2 of the 3 teaspoons of salt on my chicken breast, and now I'm going to cook the chicken breast until they're golden brown on the outside. Once the chicken breasts are nicely browned all over on the outside, you can remove them to a clean plate. You're not expecting them to be brown all the way through at this point, this brown. Remove them to a clean plate and set on the side. Now at this point we would like to add our fresh aromatics to the hot oil remaining in the pot. That would be the onion, the garlic, and the fresh ginger. We will stir those for a while, a few minutes, until the onion is translucent and looks and smells nice and aromatic. Now our aromatics are looking good, so it's time to add some more of our spices. That would be the commercial curry powder, the turmeric, coriander, the cumin, cayenne pepper, and a little bit of water, about a tablespoon. Now we're going to stir that around and let it cook for just a little bit, a minute or 2, just enough to get dissolved. Now with those spices mixed in, we next need to add our crushed tomatoes, or diced tomatoes, our 1 cup of plain yogurt, about half of the coriander, the cilantro, fresh cilantro, and the remaining 2 teaspoons of salt. We want to mix that up really well. Now at this point we would like to return the chicken to the pot to the sauce we created. And any juice that's left on the plate can go right back into the pot. We'll add to the flavor. And we want to add about a ½ cup of water. Give that a stir. Turn it over. Get the chicken coated in the sauce really well. And we now want to sprinkle our garam masala on top of the chicken and the remaining cilantro. Now we would like to cover that, put the heat on about medium, and let that simmer for 20 or 30 minutes or until the chicken is done. I've elected to serve my chicken curry over a bed of steamed rice. So accordingly, I've added 2 cups of rice to my rice cooker, the prescribed amount of water, and now I've only got to fire it up and wait for it to cook. Now the rice is done, so it's time to plate things up. So here is our authentic chicken curry, all ready to eat. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time at Rose's Cafe.